Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, a look at the profitability of Update 4.1 crew missions. But first, a couple bits of SWTOR news, and a shout out to our guild LAA Acta Est on Jedi Covenant. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 131. All right, get in the escape pod, bud. Why an escape pod? Because it's an elegant vehicle for a more civilized age. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, Max. It's going pretty well. I have to say, I was doing some crafting this afternoon, and I'm kind of in the middle of converting my grade 8 mats to grade 9 mats. I'm still holding on to some grade 8 mats in case I want to use them to level up anything. And so I'm going back and forth between my stronghold and the fleet to look in legacy storage and the fleet to convert. And I would like go to the fleet, and then I'd forget what I was going to do, and then I'd go back to my legacy storage, and I would forget what I was going to get. It was not my best hour for memory. Got frustrating after a while, but I finally just took all my archaeology stuff and just converted it all.
All of it, 100%.
I've been messing around with all of it. All of it, because I figure my archaeologist is at skill 550 now. I'm not archaeologist, but my artificer is. So I'll probably be fine never having any more grade 8. At least from my supply, I'll still run the missions to get. Well, we'll talk about the crew missions later, but yeah. And then, as an update to last week, I did get the cartel coin grant, so I'm happy about that. So last week I was saying I didn't think I would because I didn't have the email things checked.
Oh, right.
But apparently it's like what you said, Max. They just wanted to make sure that they could email you. So
Good.
I've been getting their cartel coin emails every month, and then I got the grant. So
well, good on them.
Happy about that.
And good for you. That's good. I got a grant.
Oh.
I got one grant.
No,
but I think I'm supposed to get two. One for my son's account too, and I have only seen one, so I got to dig around. But we'll talk about that in the news.
I was just gonna say I'm really liking the HK55 inspired jetpack. It's my favorite speeder right now, and I pretty much took all my characters off the random speeder, and now everyone just zips around in the jetpack. It just feels so quick. I like it, and it's great for things like like in Scum and Villainy when you have to go behind those crates to avoid the droids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I had the random speeder, I would sometimes get a big speeder or a round speeder or an animal speeder, and they just don't fit behind the boxes as nicely.
Right.
So
I think
I like that aspect of it.
I think technically it's just graphically they don't fit as well, and they actually
it could be
do,
totally
but,
mental on my part.
Well,
Yeah.
it's still more difficult to figure out exactly where your hit circle is and exactly where you
Right.
are. So I completely agree. I've had the other jetpack, one of the other jetpacks for quite a while, and I always would use the smallest possible vehicle like the jetpack when I was trying to really have precision movement. I still like my old jetpack, my JT-2 jetpack.
I have one of the older ones that Arv sold to me at a very nice price a while ago, but I haven't ever learned it because I can't decide who. It's in my supply of things. I haven't decided who gets it yet.
This is
just like the Rancor mount that I got finally from the Nar Shaddaa event.
Well, that one is not in Legacy. So the jetpack will go in collections. You can just unlock it for everybody.
That's true.
The Rancor won't, though.
But it costs cartel coins to do that.
Yeah, I did it though. I did it with the. I definitely did it with the jetpack right away. And I also did it with the Akdog, which I have out, and I did it with the Nexu, and the really cool things. That's what I save my cartel coins for. So this week I did, as usual, some more PvP. I did my entire conquest target on my Sork with PvP, and that was just fine. Still having fun with that. having enough fun that I still like to just, if I just want to do something random, I'll just log in and just queue up right away, just do a round or two and log off if like on a break in the middle of the day over lunch or something. I I'm getting still getting enough of a kick out of it that it's going pretty well. We did a little EV this week. We did a little hard mode Sparky, which was still hard. We did some
Yeah.
hard mode KP, which is not hard. And we did tons, I did tons and tons of crew missions. And I'll show you some of my spreadsheet results, and this we'll be talking about today, of course. And that is enough of what I did.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So first off, the emails did go out from BioWare with the cartel coin bonus codes in them, and you should have gotten one by now. There's a number of people, a lot of people reporting on the forums that they haven't received theirs yet. Be sure that you check in, like, you know, your spam folders or wherever you get your normally get your mail from SWTOR. And also, I will just say, the mail itself, it's almost like the code is practically hidden in there. You have to scroll way down. It's after two other sections of article.
Yeah.
There's no like big button next to it or anything. It's just words. So, yes, look,
I agree.
you might have it, and you don't think.
I didn't expect that was the email where I would find the codes, but I knew I was expecting some email, so I did look through it relatively thoroughly and found the code in there. But I would have expected them to do a special email just for that code, which it's not. It's sort of in the, hey, chapter 10 is here, and it's buried at the bottom of that email.
Yeah, it's buried, and it's not, even when you get down there, it's not very, nothing's pointing to it really very well. So it made me think a little bit about the efficacy of using email to distribute things like that, because now they're getting all this, player reaction. I can't find it. It's, I checked there. Don't tell me to check there. I checked there. But from their point of view, they can't really know what you've done on your end. And
right.
I'm glad I don't. Yeah, what a mess.
Right. Plus, they
I mean, hard to get that.
I think they wanted it to be a code for some reason. They thought that would be the best mechanic. You can also then take that code and you can give it to somebody else. There are notes about how to most effectively give that code. The people are saying pretty specifically, don't just post it in a thread that says, hey, here, anybody that wants to take the code, because that's really generous and nice. But typically what happens then is you get credit sellers that scoop up those codes and do nefarious things with them. Basically sell
It's probably not what you're
after
money. With your generosity.
Right. So there's recommendations out there to like have little contests or give them out to friends, but give them out one-on-one when as much as you can. Also in news this week, little side thing I thought I'd throw in there. On Twitter today, in their just in the official SWTOR Twitter feed, they posted a picture of a piece of concept art that came out of what they were doing for coffee, and it's the interior hallway concept art for the gravestone. Looks pretty cool. It's fun to see that concept art. It's fun to see the artwork that went into it. You can definitely see that this was sort of hand painted up. I mean, maybe digitally, but
yeah, I thought it was very cool.
It looks brushed.
I like that they do stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I'd rather them do it on Twitter than Instagram, because I'm very bad at checking Instagram regularly. So
good point.
Twitter's easier.
What else?
Let's see. Also, this week, BioWare made a clarification on when they hope to fix the boss animation bugs, and what that bug is a number of bosses in operations that normally don't move around under their own speed. Their animations are borked up, so they might be pointing the wrong way, or they might be doing their telegraphs in the wrong direction or the wrong place. They originally said that they were going to have that fixed in 4.3, which is clearly way too far in the future, like April. But Eric posted that he said that just to be safe, but of course they hope to have it earlier than that, possibly in 4.2, or hopefully, I would think, sooner. But It's one thing if you have a boss that normally just stands still and he's just facing the wrong way, you can kind of adjust to that. But fights like Brontes, where she has that laser beam that she shoots out and goes around in a in a clock face fashion, like the hands of a clock. In the council fight, I guess she's just shooting it off in the wrong direction altogether, and it'd be very hard to avoid it when you don't have that visual cue of where it is. So I hope they do fix it.
Right. Yeah, that is problematic, especially in a couple of especially in the very difficult fights where people are trying to do it in hard mode or nightmare mode at with Brontes in particular, with the hands of Brontes in the end of that fight. Under Lurker, I guess, gets a little tricky, although you can, in theory, you can ignore where the telegraphs are and just know where he's supposed to be, and you can fudge it. But still, that'd be really annoying. The first boss in Eternity Vault, we notice it happens there too, but that doesn't matter. So I hope they fix it as quick as they can. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth once Eric posted out that they would be 4.3, myself included. And I tweeted out that my comment was, I expect to hear an update to this that it will be done sooner than 4.3 because that's really not acceptable. And they did clarify to some degree at least. I do hope they get it out pretty quickly. You can't just have those bosses broken like that. Also, we did have a patch go in this week to fix a couple things. They are continuing to do work. They're continuing to fix things. In particular, the sort function causing items in your cargo hold to no longer exist to cause that item loss was fixed. That one I'm glad they fixed really quickly. Anything related to item loss.
It was a quick note, though. They didn't say whether anything that people might have lost was back, just that it won't happen anymore.
Yeah, they did not. And I didn't hear many people being affected by it, but still, it was terrifying to me.
A comment on how useful the sort function is in the cargo hold.
True. I think I used it once just to test it, and then looked at what it did to my cargo hold and went, never do that again.
I'm never touching that again.
In theory, they fixed the craftable relics for artificing. The 212, 216, and 220 relics are now supposed to be bind on equip and not bind on pickup. There have been
I've heard from a couple of people, that they have managed still to make a bind on pickup relic, but I don't know. It's supposed to be fixed.
Yeah, interesting. And then there were a couple other minor side fixes. If you had started Chapter 10, you were no longer able to go back and do Find a Findsman to get Yoon and kick off all those Alliance alerts. Now you can. And there was something tricky you could do to yourself, so you couldn't even complete Chapter 10, and that got fixed right away too.
And then I guess we're going to have an event this week. Either we were talking before the show that because we're guessing it's probably either going to be Gree or bounty contract week.
They wanted to do events. They wanted to continually run all of the events monthly.
Right.
We were looking, though, I guess there's some data mining out there that shows that it could be syncing up with when they have the Conquest target coming up that aligns with Gree and bounty contract.
True.
And in theory, then Gree might not be next week. It might be sort of the week after or the week after that, in the next couple weeks. But that's not guaranteed. They could, I know they're bringing the servers down this week just for some back-end maintenance. They could change that target on the back end. So we'll see. In guild and community news, for our guild, our Monday Night Ops team is sort of doing a reset in the forums just to make sure they know who all is in the roles. Corley stepped up and is taking over leadership of that team. That's really awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
It's very good. Yes.
Sten needed a little bit more of a break. He's got a bunch of things going on, and for him to do multiple nights in a row was getting a little difficult for him. So he'll be able to focus more on some other things and hopefully maybe bring back our GSF nights. I think that's what I'm going to pressure him to do.
So specifically what they could use on Monday night is a couple people part of the permanent team who can be healers.
Healers. So if anyone is a healer out there, we've got a Republic team on Monday nights that runs on a regular basis. It would be great to get you in there. And then we have another ops team that is starting to form up. It's been going for a few weeks now, just a thread in the forums trying to gather momentum for running on the weekend sometime. And I think I was looking in that thread, and it looked like there was getting close to critical mass. I think we're probably pretty close to being able to kick it off, and then just picking up some people on the fly for some of the empty spots. It'd be fun to see that weekend team get kicked off. So I think I don't remember who started it, but I'm gonna catch up with whoever that was and encourage them to make that happen. And for everyone not yet in Alea Yacht Est, our guild is always looking for new members on Jedi Covenant. Our parent community is one of those very large, family-friendly multi-game guilds. Does a lot in World of Warcraft, but also Guild Wars and Diablo, and Here's the Storm, and Secret World, and Star Trek, and Lotro. We'd certainly have a pretty solid guild in Star Wars: The Old Republic on both the Republic and Imperial sides. Guild info is available on aie-guild.org, and you can catch officers in-game with a /cjoin AIELFO. And shout out to the chat room. Thank you guys. We've been tossing some comments back and forth. I love having the comment feed actually in the YouTube and the Twitch stream. You can see it there. But we also, before and after the show, have a little running commentary, comment on the week's news, and that really helps us out to get things kicked off. So thank you all, and I will talk to you after the show.
Game changer.
Game changer.
Game changer for...
Game changer for the industry.
Okay, a little bit of a game changer with the crew mission update for 4.1. The biggest update to 4.1 is everything went to grade 9. It's not yet to 11. Soon it will be to my skills go to 11. But with
of course,
with that, they added grade 9 materials, and they upgraded all the missions, and they added a new tier of missions. They also reorganized some of the missions. So some of the old mission names have been repurposed and reorganized to grade 9 missions. Little fun side fact that was part of that. I had been running lots of missions. I had missions out before 4.1 patch went in, and then I logged into that character after 4.1, and I got the results of like the grade 7 or grade 8 mission as grade 9 materials, because now that grade 8 or grade 7 mission became a grade 9 mission. I got the grade 9 results. Not a big deal. It only happens once.
Oh.
But I thought I was wondering what was going on. I was like, oh, that's a little bit weird. But I realized those names of those missions were the same. But one of the things I wanted to go through was what the deal is with those updates, what those grade 9 missions look like. And I did a bunch of running of missions, and Seema did a bunch of running of missions. And I tracked most of my results in a big spreadsheet to say, okay, we have gathering missions, and we have the mission missions, slicing, diplomacy, treasure hunting, investigation, and underworld trading. What do those look like? What does it look like when you crit? What does it look like when you run a wealthy versus a rich versus a bountiful, abundant, and moderate? And what's profitable? And that's key. So things have changed up just a little bit, and we'll go through each of those in some detail. I've got a couple slides, and I've got a spreadsheet to sort of show off on it, but we'll just be talking through it as well, so you don't need to be looking at that stuff. I'll kick it off, and then Seema and I will kick it back and forth on what we're doing with some of this stuff. But overall, the general guidance I have for everyone, if you want the TLDL, too long, didn't listen version, is for gathering, the 3 gathering skills are archaeology, scavenging, and of course my mind is blanking right now. Here, I've got it in my...
archaeology, scavenging, bioanalysis.
Yes, archaeology, scavenging, and bioanalysis. They are certainly great, and we're only going to be talking about grade 9 and grade 9 of running the missions. We've got this weird little situation right now where you can run grade 8 missions or do grade 8 gathering out in the world and turn those items in for grade 9 materials up until 4.2 hits. That's beside the point. We're only sort of going to be talking about the grade 9 missions, which are going to be useful looking forward. So in terms of scavenging and archaeology and bioanalysis, the rich and bountiful missions, running it with a crew member, running the crew mission off your crew skills window, those will typically be profitable, and abundant will sometimes be profitable. Moderate's not usually profitable right now. And then the way it works is you get 8 for a rich, you get 6 for a bountiful, you get 4 for a abundant, and you get 2 back for a moderate. And if you crit, you get +2 to each of those. So that sort of gives you an idea of what that looks like.
When you say something is profitable, what you mean is that the cost of the mission is less than the value of the mats you get back.
Right, exactly. So thank you for clarifying, but you know, and but that's right. I should.
But
sort of
that's why a moderate one might not be profitable, because if it only returns 2, and the cost of the mission might be higher than what you're getting. So
exactly. So
yeah.
if you look here so this is sort of my summary spreadsheet. I've got a more detailed version of this that I actually use. In the two scavenging, the typical return, you're only getting 2 polished laminoid or 2 polished aluminum, but it costs 25.75 credits to run it. If you have to pay that many credits to run it and you're only getting 2 polished laminoid back, and the average price on the GTN typically is less than half of 25.75, then you know it's not really profitable. You do have to think about when an item crits, when a mission crits, and what that does to your overall profitability, and we'll show you what that looks like as well. Here I'll show you real quick what my more detailed version of this looks like. I'll show it to you later. Here's the more detailed. Oops, I may have broken it.
Don't break the spreadsheet.
I did. That's not good. I have a backup though. I deleted some of my columns, which that upsets me. Because what I did, I have
upset me too.
I have another page of my bigger spreadsheet where I track the materials cost of what the material cost happens to be for each of the materials on the GTN. So when I try to figure out profitability, I'll look at something that looks like this, which then tells me, hey, red goo, fresh red goo, which is the new grade 9 bioanalysis, one of the new grade 9 bioanalysis mats, is running about 980 credits on the GTN right now. And the vendor price, which I always keep track of as well, is 55 credits. So if I know this is 980 credits times 2, then is 1,900 credits. That's under that 2560 credits or whatever we said it would take to run it.
Yeah.
2575. That's why I'm saying it's not profitable. Now, even with critting, it's not profitable, and we'll talk about crits as I said in just a second. Other notes on the general guidance: there are those missions within each of those 3 gathering mission lists that allow you to gather the white crafting material, so they have new names for each of these. Endothermic flux in scavenging, and that's used by like armor mech, and in bioanalysis it's the Vapro sampler, which is used in biochem. Those are quite profitable, because in the new model, when you try to go and buy a endothermic flux from the vendor on the fleet, you're going to go buy an endothermic flux, it's like 2,200 credits for one. The grade 8 whites were 800 credits, and I thought that was ridiculous. So for 2,200 credits is crazy. If you run this mission that costs 2,600 credits to run, you'll get back usually around 8 to 10 if you don't crit. And if you crit, you can get back somewhere between 19 and 25 of that white material. Those can be crazy profitable. If you're a crafter, I would certainly recommend on one of your alts or wherever you have the alt that will do this mission, be running that mission all the time so you can get your big stack of endothermic flux so you can make things and not have to go to the vendor on the fleet and buy those white materials. Couple other pieces of general guidance. Lockbox missions, and we'll go through them on both treasure hunting and slicing. They are profitable, and this has not happened in the last 2 grades. Slicing lockbox missions were not profitable in grade 8, unless you crit. Just baseline, they were still profitable. If you crit, they were still profitable. You could always run them and on average make a profit. Now they're even profitable if you don't crit. There's no reason not to be running those on a regular basis. And then we'll talk about wealthy, and wealthy missions continue to be a special case because you can, when you get those missions back, and you get those off of slicing running the lockbox mission, you get the 530 grade 9 mission drop. You could sell that mission on the GTN and not run it, or you could run it and make the profit from selling the materials that come out of it. I do the math between those two sometimes. In general, I look between how well those missions are selling on the GTN, and you'll want to look at that on a regular basis if you're trying to maximize your profit to determine whether you should run it or whether you should just sell the mission. And we'll show you a little bit of that.
So
too.
I want to poke at something you just said. If you run the lockbox missions slicing, they're going to be profitable even if the companion you run them on has low influence, because independent of critting, right? They're going to be profitable. So
yes,
you don't have to worry that you don't have to think about, well, my high influence companion has to be free for me to do this. No, you can do it on any of your companions.
So this is also going to be very hard to see, but I opened up about 20 of those grade 9 credit boxes that came out of the slicing lockbox mission. I opened about 20 of them. I recorded each of the amounts of credits, and the credits that came out of them ranged from between 4,900, almost 5,000 credits down to about 2,700 credits, and they averaged 4,000 credits, 4,088. So if they're averaging 4,088 credits every time you open one of those boxes, and then it only costs like 2,600 credits to run the mission, yeah, run it. Do it.
I'm not clicking on any lockbox missions while we're talking or anything like that.
You're right now. You're off there going. Yeah, they're 2,700 to run, and they average 4,000 credits. Just if you don't crit, you could take a Scorpio. For some reason, every time I get Scorpio, she comes out at influence rank 1. She has like 0 influence. I don't know what conversation choices I pick, but she doesn't like anything. So I used her quite a bit when I was trying to figure out what the baseline duration and of each of these were, for example. But I was also using her because I was trying to make sure I knew what the non-crit values were for everything. Not critting at all. And then if you crit on one of those, then you're far exceeding your profit. So should we talk about critting just a little bit?
Yeah.
So here's the deal with critting. With anything that you run, you're going to have a baseline return, and then if you crit that mission, you're going to get something, you're going to get a bonus. For just the basic gathering missions, it's not that much of a bonus. You're getting, say on a rich mission, you're getting 8. If you crit, you get +2. Mostly you're just getting +2 on the moderate and abundant of the other, like diplomacy, treasure hunting, investigation, and underworld trading as well. And that makes them not all that interesting either. And we'll get to each of those separately. Where it gets very interesting is on the rich and bountiful missions. And as I said, on those white crafting material missions. The way you figure out, though, what your average profit's going to be, whether or not you should bother to run a mission over and over and over. Should I run this rich mission in scavenging over and over in general? You're going to want to figure out what the value is. So I'm going to get 8 of these polished aluminum back on average. Okay, well, go look up what on the GTN what 8 of those polished aluminum look like. Then go look up what 10 looks like, because you know that's what you'll get back when you crit. So now you've got your base value and you've got your crit value. Then you need to look up what the crit rate is for the various companions that you plan to be running this on. If you run this on a level 50 influence companion, that is going to give you a 25% crit rate. That means 1 out of 4 times you're going to be critting with that companion. So here's the little formula then. What you need to do is 75% of the time you're going to be getting the average, and 25% of the time you're going to be getting the crit value. If you do something weird like the lockbox missions, the average value, as I said, was 4,088 credits coming out of one of those boxes. The crit value is more like 20,000 credits or 25,000 credits, because selling those wealthy missions that you get as sort of the bonus when you crit is very high. So you're going to need to take that 20,000 and multiply it by 0.25. So that's 5,000. And then you're going to add that to the 70.75 times the base value of that 4,000, which is 3,000, which gives you the combined value then of an average of about 8,000 credits that you're getting out of running that mission on a regular basis. I did it with this other, so I did it with, well, my math was off of a 48,000 average crit, because I didn't have some of the other mission values. But then you subtract out what it takes to run that mission, and now you know what it looks like in general. This was rich slicing that I was going after. So this is actually what I'm showing on the screen is the current value today, earlier today on Jedi Covenant, of what it's like to run rich slicing with a level 50 influence companion. If you don't crit, you're getting on average about 2,000 credits just from getting the blue material that you'll get off of the rich mission for slicing for the tech parts mission. If you crit, you're going to be getting 3 of the purple materials, and those we're going for times, combined for all 3 about 48,000 credits. So it's 48,000 times 0.25 plus 2,000 times 0.75 gives you 13,500 credits. Subtracting that run cost of what it takes to run that, which is 4,360 credits, gives you a little over 9,000 credits profit. So math, but if you want to really figure out if it's worth it to run one of the missions, and I gave you the general guidance, but this is how I figure it out, and this is what I do to be sure that on average, when I'm critting and when I'm not, if I average that all out, should I bother to be running this particular mission? In a lot of these cases, it's yes. In the rich and bountiful, in general, it's yes. In a lot of cases, abundant and moderate is no. So check it out. Any comments on that, crit math?
It makes it sound like it's really worth it to get that 50 influence companion. I mean, I have 2 of them, and both of those characters have slicing. So I tend to do the rich tech parts mission with my 50 influence companion and send off block boxes with the rest. But is that how you do it too, or do you have all 50 influence companions?
I have 0 50 influence companions yet, because I'm lazy.
Oh.
I need to get them though, because yes, it is totally worth it. So I would certainly suggest getting the companions up to, because it takes work and credits. There's a value that there's either an opportunity value because you're using, say, common crystals to buy gifts that you could be selling on the GTN, or
Right.
you're using credits to buy lower level gifts and give them to your companion. It can be up to about 1 million or 1.5 million to get up to influence rank 50. But it is worth it over time if you're going to be running a lot of missions on that character.
Yep, that's a good way of putting it, because I've wondered about that too. I do use my common crystals to buy gifts, and then I use the gifts, but if you sold them, that would be a lot of credits right there.
Right. So I have at least one. So I have a companion that or I have a character that focuses on diplomacy, a character that focuses on treasure hunting, a character that focuses on investigation. And for each of those, I definitely have one companion that's usually up around 25 or 30, because it's super easy to get up to, not super easy, but it's easy to get up to 25 or 30, and it's relatively low cost. So I wasn't lazy I wasn't too lazy to do that. And then I at least have one companion that has a pretty good crit rate. Then you're up about, at least 15% crit rate. So that's not too bad. And then I can run both the wealthy missions off of that, because that's a nice little bonus. And then any of the rich, I'll focus that companion on doing that from time to time. Let's hit on those gathering missions just one more time. As I said, in general, for archaeology, bioanalysis, and scavenging, usually rich and bountiful missions are profitable. Once in a while, and sometimes abundant missions are, sometimes they're not. And rarely are moderate missions, almost never are moderate missions profitable with those right now. As the market gets flooded and the prices decrease, if you watch those prices over time, you can get into situations where none of those gathering missions would be profitable. So keep an eye out for that. Always the white crafting material missions are profitable and will be profitable going forward. I can't imagine a situation where, maybe somebody's run those a billion times and puts all their materials on the GTN, and you could just be buying those off of the GTN. Compared to the vendor cost, though, where most of the crafters who are crafting quite a bit have to go get their white materials, they're super profitable compared to that 2,200 credits that you have to pay to get them off the vendor on the fleet, or your mail droid, where you can buy them from, not the mail droid, the repair droid. You can also buy white materials off the repair droid.
I wonder if they have the grade 9 ones, though.
The repair droid? Good question.
Yeah.
Should we check that out real quick? Oh, look, I've been chatting so much I disconnected out of the game.
you dissipated.
We'll do...
I don't do I have the repair droid? Let me look. Because I have a Revan, so I never, on characters that I've created since I got the Revan, I usually don't buy the repair droid.
So on the repair droid, yes, they're all there as well.
Yes, I see that they are.
2,200 credits. Crazy. That's insane. Okay, so let's keep going. Then we have 5 mission skills: slicing, diplomacy, treasure hunting, investigation, and underworld trading. Most of these are relatively similar, but they have little differences between them as well. So let's talk first about slicing. Slicing, with all of these missions, the rich mission and the bountiful mission are the only 2 missions where you can get the purple material off of a crit, and the wealthy. Let's leave the wealthies to the side for a minute on all of these. So rich and bountiful are the only places where you're going to crit and then get one of the grade 9 purple materials. So those grade 9 purple materials are those are the really valuable ones. So I'm talking about the delta wave inducer for diplomacy, the cinnitine info scraper for slicing. That's the material that you need to create the augments, for example. The delta wave inducer is what you need to create purple grade 212. Well, that's actually used for creating the high-end stims. Durvalex is used for the 212 and above purple weapons and barrels. Barrels, yeah. Off of Arms Tech. Singing Stone is the purple one for treasure hunting, and then there's 2 for underworld trading. So the only place you're going to get those off of the regular missions, the non-wealthy, is if you crit on a bountiful or rich. So what that means is in most cases, for across all of those, it's rarely, if ever, profitable to bother running the abundant or the moderate mission, because you're only getting the blue items. And the blue items typically have very little value because people run the rich and bountiful over and over and over, and they get big stacks and stacks and stacks of the blue ones. And the blue ones end up being very close to their vendor price on the GTN because people just have stacks and stacks of them because they're trying to get the purple ones.
Because yes, and the only people wanting them would be crafters, and the crafters are running the missions. Yes, it's a circle.
The other trick to slicing, again, as I mentioned before, is those lockboxes. Those lockboxes are always profitable even if you don't crit, and then if you crit, they're incredibly profitable. Because you're getting one of those 530 missions. Some of those 530 missions are very, very expensive if you to even just sell on the GTN, or the profit you would get off of it is very high. Some of them not so much. Investigation, for example, is not all of that expensive typically, and tends to go down in price as so I'd expect over the course of the next few weeks to a month, the investigation mission cost to not be that high. But that's okay. It'll still add profit. You always, and I don't know what my last bullet point means, so we'll skip that. I don't know what I meant by that. Diplomacy. I have a character that runs diplomacy. Diplomacy is the mission skill that supports biochem. So this is where you're getting the medical materials. Diplomacy also has the little trick of giving you dark side points or light side points. It's a fun little extra bonus to running those missions. And there's 2 rich, 2 bountiful, 2 abundant, 2 moderate, and it's 1 dark side, 1 light side of each. If you crit, you get double the light side or double the dark side points. So that's a little extra twist to diplomacy.
I did not realize that. Is that new? Or has it always been like that?
I think it's always been like that.
I just never noticed it. Wow.
The other trick to diplomacy, they did change it so the wealthy mission, there's only 1 wealthy mission, and it has neither dark nor light side points. And again, with diplomacy, right now in Jedi Covenant, current GTN prices, abundant and moderate are not profitable. Rich and bountiful are profitable because you're critting and getting that purple material. Investigation is I have treasure hunting as next. So treasure hunting, again, rich and bountiful, profitable because you crit and get the purple. Abundant, moderate, not profitable because you're only getting the blue. This has 2 special cases to remember for treasure hunting. One is that there's both metals and cloth. So there's 2 rich for the metals and 2 rich for the cloth.
No, that's underworld trading.
Oh, what
You're thinking of underworld trading?
Treasure hunting. Yes, I am talking about underworld trading.
Gifts.
So, back it up. Rich and bountiful are profitable. Abundant and moderate are not profitable. The extra bonus that you get with treasure hunting is similar to slicing. There are 2 lockbox missions that you can run. When you run one of the lockbox missions, you get a grade 9 treasure hunting lockbox. The grade 9 treasure hunting lockbox gives you both credits and an item. So I ran a bunch of those to see what you get out of those, and it turns out they are profitable pretty much. I only ran it 4 times, or I only double checked 4 times, but it was looking like they're going to be profitable every time regardless. Because just the amount of credits that you get out of it is close to being profitable, and then you're always seeming to get like a 190 green or a 200 blue item. I didn't open enough of them to see if you start getting schematics. If you get schematics, those are usually relatively worthless. But even so, with the credit numbers I was getting out of those things, it seemed like it was going to be another one of those cases where they're always either break even or profitable. And of the times I ran it so far, I got on average of just vendoring the items that were coming out of it, an average of 6,500 credits.
Wow.
Running those treasure hunting lockbox missions, and they only are, I think, another 2,700 to run.
So that is a little
Yep.
shot in the arm for treasure hunting. I don't think I have any treasure hunters left.
Yep. So, although the singing stone, the purple material off of treasure hunting is valuable because it's used by synth weavers and artificers. Or just artificers? Maybe just artificers. For hilts and
Yeah,
and relics these days.
Yep, exactly.
So
I know it's artificers. I'm not sure on synth weavers.
Investigation is the most vanilla. There's nothing really much of a bonus about it. So rich and bountiful get the purple. Those tend to not be as valuable as some of the other materials because they're used in less crafting, but they're used more than they have been in the past under past patches because more people are making the 212 weapons as well as continuing to make barrels. So investigation, I think, will be slightly more profitable than it has been in the past. It's usually been the items that come out of investigation, the materials that come out of investigation have tend to be at the bottom of the list. Rich and bountiful have still typically been profitable. Abundant and moderate, not profitable. And that I think that will continue to be the case. And then underworld trading is the last one. Again, just on the purple, rich and bountiful, profitable, abundant, moderate, not. But you have double the number of missions available to you for underworld trading because you have 2 each at each of the grades: rich, bountiful, abundant, moderate for metals, the underworld metal, and 2 each for the underworld cloth. Metal tends to be slightly higher in cost than the cloth. When I was running it in grade 8, I haven't finished my analysis to really see how much more profitable is in grade 9, but I was mostly only running the metal missions in grade 8.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
So dunium used to be the good metal, and it would go for more than quite a bit more than the cloth that you would get out of it, the whatever synth blah blah blah. So now it's right. Zakulian Durasteel and Zakulian Silk are the 2 purples. Right now Zakulian Silk is more than Zakulian Durasteel, but all of the underworld materials right now are really low in price, and I don't know why that is on Jedi Covenant. The purples are only Zakulian Durasteel is only 2,500. I think there was some people probably stocking up on dunium, and they converted a bunch and flooded the market. I would expect these prices to go up into the 12,000 credit range. And I would expect silk to continue to be, maybe half of what the Durasteel runs, or 2/3 what the Durasteel runs. Okay, so I ran through.
I guess it depends on if people make the stuff they can make with synth weaving, because in the past that was the issue between metals and cloth, is that nobody was using the synth weaver mats from there.
And then just to do a little bit of wrap up on the wealthy missions. So the wealthy missions come from running those, and there's only 2 of them now to get a grade 9 mission. The grade 9 slicing lockbox missions. So you have to have slicing, although you do get one off of the wealthy slicing mission as well. I forgot about that. If you get one of those, it's valuable. It's always valuable. Whether it's more valuable to run it and sell the results yourself versus just take it and put the mission itself on the GTN, there's a little bit of research on your own that you could do real quick on the GTN to figure that out. You can look up what the return is off of the wealthy missions. The wealthy missions can never fail, so that's nice to know. And they do crit as well. Usually you're getting 4 of the purple material back for each of the wealthy missions, and then 6 if you crit in general. And then you're getting a bunch of other stuff too. So look up what the results are and then do the math and figure out if that's more or less than what the mission itself sells for on the GTN. The other thing to keep an eye out for, if you're really keeping a look on that, is to go and check out it to keep an eye on those missions on the GTN. And if you see a bunch of those 530 grade 9 missions that get really low in price for some reason because people just keep undercutting each other, and you know the result of that mission can sell for 10,000 credits more, go ahead and pick them up, buy them, and then run them and sell the results. I do that from time to time.
Run them on that influence 50 character companion that you have, and they'll probably take like 10 minutes to run.
Yeah, they are the longest to run. It takes 55 minutes with an influence 1, 0 influence character, Scorpio. But you'll get, I think your that time gets cut in half with a level 50 influence character. So you'll be down around 25, 28 minutes. And that's it. So that's a view of the profitability. So again, to sum it up, and then I'll ask Seema for her final tips. In general, on the gathering, Rich and Bountiful are sometimes are usually profitable. In bad cases where the market gets flooded, even those cannot be. Usually Abundant and almost always Moderate are not profitable. The new missions to run that can get those white crafting materials, you should totally be running those as much as possible. And then on the non-gathering, the other ones, again, Rich and Bountiful are going to be good. And in both the cases of treasure hunting and slicing, running the lockbox missions are good these days. And then just do the math on the wealthy, and you'll figure out what to do with those.
So my take on this is I really appreciate the work you did to delineate which ones are profitable and not profitable, because I have not been running the lockbox missions, the slicing lockbox missions. I'm definitely going to change my behavior there. The other thing I've been doing that we didn't touch on here because it wasn't in the scope of this discussion is I do run still some grade 8 missions and use those results, convert them to grade 9, and then make with the grade 9 mats whatever I was going to make that day. So that's still an opportunity, but I got to remind myself not to let those grade 8 mats go beyond 4.2.
Right. So that's a key to keep an eye out. And I don't even know what the well, I guess it's 2 weeks from now. Is 4 point?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that's going to turn around before I know it. I'll be like going, why do I still have 400 anodyne whatever?
We had an officer meeting. So we had a big AIE officer meeting the other night. We do those from time to time, about once a month. And just the whole time during that officer meeting, I had my Sork on Yavin, and by the end of it, I ended up with 600 each of the archaeology materials.
That was a smart way to use that time for sure.
To pass the time. So I got to remember to do something with those, or I'm going to end up with 600 Rusin crystals, and I don't know. I'll never get rid of them.
Yes, exactly. I'm finding what the drawback for me is, or the bottleneck for me is making the little items that you have to make first.
Yes.
They're called, armaments or whatever they're called. And partially it's because what I have in lowest supply are the white mats, the white ones that you buy from the vendors. So the bottleneck for me is running those missions because there's only one of them. This is true. For each tier.
But
I wish there were 2 or 3.
Sorry, I was reading chat. But they go pretty quick. They don't take a lot of time to run, so it's a good one just to be running constantly whenever you're logged in. Why am I not running it right now?
Like even in ops, I may not run a lot of, but I try to run at least the one to get the white mats.
So here's Senya on my bounty hunter is only influence rank 33, and she can run that white mat mission in 7 minutes. All right, I think that about sums it up, and we've gone a little long, but hopefully that's been useful to people.
It didn't feel like it was going long.
No,
if that helps any.
It was good stuff. But with that, our EPC 131 droid is ready to head out. Thanks to all of you for joining us, either on newoverlords.com or on iTunes or YouTube or live on Twitch. It gets posted to all those places. It gets posted on gets posted on Twitter and Facebook, Google Plus, and on Reddit. I'm always looking for upvotes on Reddit from time to time. We haven't been getting many upvotes lately. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. Please subscribe to us on YouTunes, and please find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. That's the main thing that we're trying to do here is get you guys to come and play. We can always use more people.
Come and play with us.
And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.